you'll be stagnant. It'll just be like you said before, it's a hamster wheel. We come in, we accomplish this task, we move on. So there's a resistance to change because you already have that fixed mindset and you're projecting that onto your employees who now then they have a fixed mindset. And if everyone has a fixed mindset, there is no learning, there is no engagement, there is no collaborative effort, there is no learning from one another. You limit your team's growth.
Hey there, my name's Ashley Church.
And I'm Erin West.
We were once newly promoted crime scene and latent print supervisors on mutual struggle buses as we both simultaneously tried to navigate through the challenges within our forensic units.
Now we run a business where we create tools and resources that we wish we had had to make these transitions easier. We like to talk about the experiences we've had in the forensic field, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in the hopes to create awareness around these issues and move the needle forward to create positive change in the forensic community.
So if you're a forensic professional, regardless of your years of experience, who's not afraid to dive into real, raw, and sometimes uncomfortable topics, you're in the right place.
This is the Forensics Unfiltered podcast.
We're back with another episode in our Summit Countdown series where we're spotlighting incredible sessions from last year's Summit. If you get a chance, go back to the last two episodes where you can learn from Coach Lisa and Chris Decker. Then come back to this episode because today's guest is Nakia Porter, and she's sharing how mindset plays a critical role in forensic leadership. Again, this is part of our countdown to the 2025 Forensics on a Budget Summit happening during National Forensic Science Week this September. I'm sure you already knew that because you're a listener to the Forensics Unfiltered podcast and you always get all of the tea. But in case you forgot, or maybe you're new here, you got to make sure you sign up for the VIP waitlist or your free ticket before the event starts, because this year the topics are going to be so good. All right, let's get started. Before we start this episode, our guest would like to share a disclaimer that the opinions shared are their own and not representative of their current or past employment. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome back to our next presentation at the Forensic Supervisor Success Summit. As always, we're excited to have you guys back. We are well into day 2, and I have the fabulous Miss Nakia Porter with us here. So for this presentation, we're going to dive into talking about a growth mindset, how to develop a growth mindset. But before we do that, Nakia, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nakia. As you know, I have been in law enforcement now for going on about 29 years. I began as a dispatcher while I went to school because I knew I wanted to be in forensics. So while I went to school, I was a dispatcher and I made my way over to the crime lab where I currently work. I was promoted to a forensic specialist back in 2011 and I built up my career. I went to school, I got my bachelor's degree. I'm currently working on my master's degree in forensic psychology. And I took the supervisor course here with Gap Science just in September of last year. And in April, I was promoted to supervising forensic identification specialist with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very excited for you. I don't know how exciting it's been since you've been supervisor.
Oh, it's been exciting. It's been a road.
Yes, no doubt.
Lots of new challenges.
No doubt. And you're doing your master's on top of it all.
Yes.
So very busy life. All right. So today we're going to talk a little bit about growth mindset, how to develop a growth mindset, and how that can really benefit you as a supervisor. So for the supervisors that are here that have never heard the terms growth mindset and fixed mindset, what does that mean, especially as it kind of applies to supervision?
Okay, first I'll kind of explain. A growth mindset was first introduced by Carol Dweck. She's a psychologist from Stanford University. And basically, the growth mindset is the belief that our abilities and our intelligence can develop over time if we just believe in hard work, dedication, and the ability to learn. So a growth mindset means you believe that If you go to school, if you work hard, abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, hard work, and learning. A fixed mindset is the opposite. It's the belief that your intelligence, your abilities, what you have right now is static, it's unchangeable, no matter how much you learn, how much hard work you do. Those are two things that they just don't grow. And when it comes to supervision, I would say having a growth mindset enhances the learning environment and achievement of your team members. When you have a growth mindset, you believe that your team can achieve higher success by embracing challenge and persisting to face difficulties versus being in a fixed mindset where you're static and you don't move. You just kind of accept things for what they are. And as a supervisor, if you have a growth mindset, you also foster resilience in your team. You foster them to be able to feel like they can bounce back. When they have a setback, they can bounce back. Versus a fixed mindset where if you hit a wall, you hit a wall and that's the end. There's no further to go. Being a supervisor with a growth mindset also fosters positive relationships with your team because you as a supervisor believe in a supportive and collaborative environment. So you're okay with your team members, your employees working together, collaborating. You want an open environment that is a collaborative type of environment where they can get together, share ideas, and learn from one another. So I believe that's kind of what a growth mindset is and how it works for supervision and how supervisors are better for having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
That's awesome. So I feel like we talked about this a little bit in our classes. So it sounds to me like from your perspective, a growth mindset, a supervisory growth mindset is really that mindset where you're driving your team forward, like pushing them to engage in challenges, to grow, to learn more, to expand their processes, all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things we talked in class about the fixed mindset is kind of just being on that hamster wheel where you just rinse and repeat all day, every day, doing the same things, never making changes, never any kind of growth. Would you say that that kind of meets the fixed and growth mindset ideas?
For sure. It's definitely that hamster wheel mentality of I come to work, I sit down, I do this task, I go home. I come to work, I sit down, I do this task, I go home. That's a fixed mindset. But with a growth mindset, you come in with an open mind of what am I going to learn today? What challenges am I going to face today? How am I going to overcome those challenges? And, how can we move forward and be more collaborative?
So I want you guys to think about it as you're listening to her talk some more about fixed and growth mindset, just so you can kind of get a perspective of where you're at right now. So when you're coming to work, are you looking at what can I change? How can I grow? What challenges can I knock out? Or are you just kind of in that comfort zone of I do the same exact thing every day. I come in, I go home, I come in, I go home. So just kind of keep that in mind when we're talking about fixed and growth mindset. So what do you think supervisors that have fixed mindsets, what are some of the challenges that they're going to encounter in their role if they do have a fixed mindset?
Some of the challenges that a supervisor with a fixed mindset would have is they'll receive resistance to change from their team, from their employees. Those employees aren't willing to adapt to new things. You'll be stagnant. It'll just be like you said before, it's a hamster wheel. We come in, we accomplish this task, we move on. So there's a resistance to change because you already have that fixed mindset and you're projecting that onto your employees who now then they have a fixed mindset. And if everyone has a fixed mindset, there is no learning, there is no engagement, there is no collaborative effort, there is no learning from one another. You limit your team's growth. It's also, you're teaching your team, it's difficult to handle mistakes. When a mistake comes, they don't learn from the mistake. When you have a fixed mindset, you're not learning from your mistakes and you're discouraging the risk taking for your team. You want them to take risk. You want them to learn. That's how new developments occur. That's how new technologies are born. I would say another thing is you get decreased team collaboration because you're not encouraging your team to collaborate. It's like you sit at your desk, you do your task. You sit at your desk, you do your task. But it's when minds come together and collaborate that we have that innovation, that new technology, the Apple, the Pixar, all of these things that are created from just collaboration and being flexible, just being a flexible supervisor that allows for all of these things to happen so that your team can be better and increase productivity and move your business, whatever it is, law enforcement, whatever it is, allowing your team to be able to collaborate and innovate just moves you forward.
Absolutely. And so she talked a little bit about the things that can hold you back with a fixed mindset. And obviously, if you shift to a growth mindset, then you're going to get the opposite of results of that, right? So if your team is very stagnant because they're not innovative, because you're not allowing those kinds of things to happen, then shifting to a growth mindset will give you the opposite effect of that, where you do start to see growth and innovation and things like that. Any other things that shifting from that fixed to growth mindset can do to help supervisors overcome some of those challenges?
I believe constructive criticism and being able to get that positive and negative feedback allows for growth as well. You need to be able to hear, even as a supervisor, areas where you can improve, because we can all improve in certain areas. It may be in your communication, how you communicate. Maybe it's just not even what you say. A lot of people say it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. And I know I've been addressed by some supervisors and their tone kind of put me off. Like, are you coming at me for correction, or are you just generally upset with me? So I believe that has a lot to do with it. Just, you want to improve your feedback. You want effective conflict resolution as well. Being able to have effective conflict resolution within your team, versus if you have a fixed mindset, things don't generally get resolved. It's okay, they have conflict, let's separate them, let's move forward in that sense. Whereas when you have a growth mindset, it's more of, okay, let's come together and let's see how we can fix this and how we can move forward so that we can continue to work together.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned kind of creating a culture of feedback, not only for the team, but also for the supervisor. So many times as supervisors, we get in the habit of giving feedback to our team, but never receiving feedback for ourselves, for our own personal growth. And sometimes that feedback can sting, but if you listen to it, it can really help you develop into a better supervisor. So I love that you mentioned that. That is very...
I agree. I learned that from the supervisory course. I've given my employees that questionnaire, and it's like, tell me how I can improve so that I can be the best supervisor I can be for you. I'm not set in my ways to a fixed mindset where I can't grow, I can't learn. I look for opportunities to better myself.
And I'm sure that they respect that you're open to that feedback as well. So that's awesome. So if the supervisors that are listening want to start really cultivating and developing their own growth mindset and the growth mindset of their team, what are some things that you would suggest for them to do to start that process?
Hey, it's Ashley from Gap Science, and I had to hop on here and tell you something super important. I wanted to let all of our forensic friends know that we have something huge coming your way this September. But first, what we need to know is, do you currently feel stretched very thin? Feel like you don't have all the resources that you need, not just to do your job, but do your job well? Or like you're constantly being asked to do more with less? If this sounds like you, first, you are not alone. There are so many forensic units across the nation, worldwide, that are in the same boat. But most importantly, you are not out of options. We have created the Forensics on a Budget Summit just for you. This is a virtual event. You can think of it like a virtual conference, but better. Made just for forensic professionals at law enforcement agencies on small or tight budgets. Now, this is not for forensic units that are fully equipped with all of the fancy equipment and have an ample amount of people on their team. We are talking specifically to those that are working with the bare minimum, or maybe even less than that. You'll hear from over 20 experts over a span of 4 days, sharing real practical strategies to get the most out of your budget. Everything from creative funding options to training hacks to tools to advocate for your unit and systems you can actually implement even when the answer is usually no. If this sounds good to you, I want you to head to www.forensicsonabudget.com. That's forensicsonabudget.com. And if you're listening to this before registration opens in September, then you will be joining our VIP waitlist and you will be the first to know when the free tickets are available. And if you're listening to this and the registration is already live, don't wait. Grab your free ticket. Yes, I said free, and join us in September for this one-of-a-kind summit built just for you. We are so excited and can't wait to see you there.
So if the supervisors that are listening want to start really cultivating and developing their own growth mindset and the growth mindset of their team, what are some things that you would suggest for them to do to start that process?
One of the first things I would suggest you do is something that I did right before I became a supervisor. I was an acting supervisor from July of last year until I got promoted this year. And during that time as an acting supervisor, I really started learning about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And then I took the supervisory course with Gap Science and learned even more about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. And the first thing I started to do was reflect. I stopped and I started thinking about my own beliefs, my own skills, my own abilities, and how I felt about myself. I started journaling areas where I felt challenged or I was unsure about, or there were obstacles. And that was the very first step I took, was to pretty much reflect. And then I sought feedback. Always seek feedback. When you solicit feedback, you can learn. It's the only way you're going to learn if you're doing something right, is to solicit feedback. If you don't know and you just think you're doing everything the correct way, you may not be. There may be someone who really could use just a little small change that you can make. I would also say embrace challenges, because there are going to be many of them. Challenges in projects, challenges with your team members. There's going to be challenges, but you have to embrace those challenges. Don't see them and be defeated. Don't think of a challenge as, oh my goodness, I've now been defeated. No, it's an opportunity for you to learn, for you to grow, and for you and your team to learn something. Every challenge is a learning opportunity. Model of growth mindset. So your team can tell if you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. They may not know those terms, but they can definitely tell, okay, this supervisor might not want to go to them because I know this is the type of answer I'm going to get. But if I go to this supervisor, they're going to be a little more open-minded. They're going to hear me out. And they may implement some of the things I tell them because they're really engaged. So I would definitely say you want to model having that growth mindset and be willing to learn continuously. This is a learning process. Trust me, I've learned so much just in the past year as an acting supervisor transitioning into actual supervisor in place. I've learned so much about myself, about other employees, about the sheriff's department, and just collaborative efforts. I've learned a lot, so you have to be open and willing to learn.
I love all of those. Honestly, like when you started with self-reflection, because self-reflection is so hard, it's such a hard thing to do. And I think so many people that we work with are not self-reflective, and there's such a huge learning opportunity just there. I love that you started journaling and like what your challenges were and all of that, and all of the other suggestions. So good. I think that there's the challenges where she talks about like, take on the challenges as learning opportunities, because as supervisors, you will get smacked down so many times because you just don't know what you don't know. Like you get dropped in there. I don't know if you guys have like good support for your supervisors, but so many supervisors just get dropped in and they're just like sink or swim. Yeah, they're sink or swim out there. And so you will make mistakes all the time and you'll get smacked for them. You'll get scolded for like, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. And using that as a learning opportunity, like, oh, my bad, I didn't know. I'll make a note of that for next time kind of thing, instead of letting it completely defeat you and then not wanting to take any more risks because by doing things, you risk getting smacked.
Yes.
So that's so awesome. Such good advice. I love it. Love it. Love it.
And I was one of those supervisors in acting where I took the place of another supervisor who left. And normally we have a program where that supervisor stays on a few weeks, trains the incoming supervisor before they leave. I didn't have that opportunity. the person was gone before I can even get my desk situated. They were gone. So I was kind of dropped in, and it's like, okay, I'm going to trust that you've been doing this long enough that you got this. And I can tell you, I was smacked a few times because I was learning. And it's still a continuous learning process, because with each new task comes a new challenge, a new learning opportunity. So I definitely can understand. I can agree with that. That's definitely what I have experienced myself. So having a growth mindset has definitely helped me to just improve how I am as a supervisor, and just the things I do when it comes to my teams, to collaborate with them and make them feel that they are valued and they are respected.
That's awesome. Such great advice. So can you share, or do you have any examples, or like an example of or two of a leader that you've known, and maybe they're your own examples, of things that have worked for you, but a leader that you've known that has a growth mindset and how that's positively impacted their team?
One of them I'll say is our own assistant director. When I say growth mindset, he exhibits a growth mindset. So as soon as he came in, he met with all of the employees and he wanted input, and he brought up a whiteboard and, what do you guys think we need to do different? What do you guys think we need to change? What can I do to make things better for you guys here? And he took a lot of those things and implemented them. I mean, just to the smallest thing as painting the walls a lighter color so it didn't feel so dark in the building, changing the floors, changing things so that it just brightened up the place. Then he went through and there were partitions at every desk. He took all of them down because he said, how can you guys collaborate when you guys can't even see each other? Mm-hmm. How do you talk without, you shouldn't have to call your neighbor on the phone or knock on a wall to get their attention. You should be able to just look over and speak to your neighbors. So he really he made things so much more open for us. And the collaboration has been tremendous. The support of each team member, that just watching the team be able to talk to each other and run things by each other, because I work in the latent print section. So we're looking at complex latent prints all the time. And sometimes it takes, hey, can you look at this? Can you tell me what you think? Or, oh, I had this rough scene and my camera didn't work, or something happened, and do you have any advice for what I can do next time? I think all of that has made a difference, because even our turnaround and our reports, we're getting out maybe a year, 6, 7, 8 months, we would get our reports to our customers, the detectives, where now we have a 60 to 75 day turnaround on reports, which is really good for such a large agency. Another one, I would say myself, as a supervisor with a growth mindset, I chose, and most of our supervisors now do this, to have monthly meetings with my employees. So we sit down, and the first thing I say is, okay, bring me your work, everything you're working on, everything you have. Let me know how I can support you. Is your load too heavy right now? Is it too light? Do you need more work? I want to do whatever I can to support you right now in what you need. Some people have personal things going on in their lives, where they may feel like, this is just too much for me right now. I have this going on. Is there any way you can help me or support me? So that's one thing that I've learned to do, is to have monthly meetings. Although they know my door is always open, I make it a point to schedule a monthly meeting with them, so that they know that once a month, if nothing else, they're going to be able to come to me and say, this is what I need your support on. This is what I need your help on. And they know they're going to receive it.
And it sounds like the example that you gave, and even some of the things that you're doing with your own team, those kinds of things really impact and change the unit culture. And can make the culture much more positive and much more innovative and collaborative and all of that stuff. So if you guys are listening to this and you're not loving the culture of your unit as it currently stands, just know that you can make some of those changes happening. Like, you can make some of those changes happen from the way that you're treating your team members and interacting with them, and kind of developing this growth mindset. So that was great. Do you have any last thoughts for our supervisors that are watching on growth and fixed mindset before we finish up our time together here today?
Sure. I really hope that you were able to gain something. I know it's a short amount of time to learn about growth and fixed mindset, but I'm available to you at any time. You can reach me on Circle. or you can reach out and I'll give you my email address. I'm open to helping you, to leading you, to help guide you into how to really develop a growth mindset for your team, as well as I'm the board member of ICSIA, which is the International Crime Scene Investigators Association, and we'd love to have new members. We're trying to come up with a conference for next year. If you would like to be a guest speaker or you have a topic you're interested in, please reach out to me. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to just kind of give you some insight on a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Thank you so much, Nakia, for joining us here. We appreciate
Thank you guys for
here.
having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys for attending this presentation. We hope you got some great pieces of useful information that you can take home and use with your own teams. And that's all we have for you today with Miss Nakia. So we'll see you guys at the next presentation.
So powerful, right? Nakia really hits home on what it takes to grow as a leader from the inside out. Don't forget, if you want more training sessions like this, we've got great news. The entire 2024 summit just dropped in the vault. You'll also get full access to the 2022 and 2023 summits, and you can get started for just $29. Of course, be sure to sign up for this year's big event, the Forensics on a Budget Summit, happening this September. Tickets and waitlist info are at forensicsonabudget.com. That's forensicsonabudget.com, and it's absolutely free to attend, and we can't think of a better way to spend National Forensic Science Week. See you there. Thank you so much for being here and listening to Forensics Unfiltered. If you liked this episode, would you do us a favor and leave a review letting us know specifically what you liked about this topic? It will only take a minute, but it will really help us plan future episodes so we can bring you more topics that you want to listen to. We'll be sure to provide any links from today's episode in our show notes on our website. Head to www.gapscience.com. Until next time, stay safe out there.